Okay, well tell me about the plant explosions at the DuPont plant.
Okay, it's on October 15th, 1952. And the time of the explosion was 2:50 a.m. I was standing by number 2 punching house, and I took four, not buckets, baskets. No, I gotta think what they are. Wooden, wooden boxes of dynamite down to the packing house, you know. And I brought 4 empty ones back to number 2 punching house. And I didn't enter the building. I was getting ready to put my stuff into the building, and I heard the biggest explosion I ever heard in my life. And I could see the light going through the trees sideways. And pretty soon, it was all quiet for a split second, and stuff began to fall everywhere. No matter where you looked, if you looked this way, stuff was falling in front of you. That way, stuff was falling in front of you. That way, there's no way you could go if stuff wasn't falling in front of you, you know. And it went through the roofs and through the ceilings and through the floors into the ground. And there was about 50 of us who were still on the job, and not one of us got hit by all that debris falling down. And we could hear the TNT tank. It would take a big breath of air, to suck in a big breath of air, and when it roared, burned out the air, it sounded like an African lion roaring right in your face. It was so loud, you know. And we had no power, we had no air, we had nothing to work with. And we all didn't know what to do. So we decided to go to the change house. And then a fella come in and asked us what we were going to do, and they said we should go out and start cleaning up. But then Baldy Sem came. He's the manager. He said, "What are you guys doing?" He said, "You go shower up, get in your home clothes, and wait for the doctor." So that's what we did. And the doctor came and gave us an examination and told us each one when we could go home. And the line outside just kept right on a roaring, sucking the air in, just blowing it out with a roar of the line. And I left there, and I picked up a 5-pound piece of junk off the middle of the highway, and that's over a mile away. And then I got to Ashland, and I seen all the windows that faced the lake was smashed out, all of them. And I went up to our apartment, and I see my mother-in-law and father-in-law going into the door. And when I got there, I went in, and they were about to tell my wife what happened at DuPont, because she didn't understand that it was an explosion. She thought the trains were bumping. And then we went back, and we were all on labor force, and we had to clean everything up and start building over again. We had to build a nitromix plant and a nitromon plant and a supply house, and all the wiring and plumbing that had to be done. And they engineered it so if every one of these buildings ever went again, it wouldn't blow the stuff all over the place, up and everywhere. It would blow it out into the woods, strictly, away from everybody else. So then we got that done. It took us pretty near a year to get that done, and we got it working smoothly, and nitromix plant was running, and nitromon plant was running, and I was in the nitromon plant. I really liked the job, and we were doing fine. And then on a Wednesday again, like this was, they decided exactly what was wrong. The mixer was causing the explosions. So they got a new mixer with one piece. There was no two-piece mixer. That's the liquid that came in got in the crack and got squeezed in there, they figure, until it added up, and finally it exploded. So then the new mixer was there, and everything was going good. It was on a Wednesday, and Tuesday before that, they told me I'm to go to waste and work up at waste from now on. Because Saturday they're going to put the new mixer in. And so I was walking, Tuesday my shift was from 4 to midnight. That's what my shift was at the Nitromon. And I was going up to Nitromix, and I never quite got there. And I heard another explosion like I heard 2 years before. It was my building that went up, Nitromon building. Oh my goodness, now what we're going to do. So, I'll tell you, we just quit for that day. We didn't do, none of us worked, I don't think. I think we all went home for that day and started to rebuild again. And that's about all of it, I think. Yeah, we're all lucky that we didn't lose more men. Well, it's an absolute miracle I got transferred out of that building when I did. It was 15 minutes into my shift that it went up. I wouldn't be here today. You know, I don't really know who took my place even. You know, 3 of us had to work in Nitromon.
Yes. Okay.
Every one of these buildings had a man. This number of men that were in there, no more. You know, like when the first one blew up, there wasn't supposed to be all those people getting killed. The train crew was there too, and they were shooting the breeze. And they got. So 8 men went the first time. That's why they have the head count in every building to hold the damages down. And you know, here's another thing, by golly. The damage to the plant at this time, 1952, was $75,000. Now that's a lot of, you know what? What's $75,000? Oh. $475,000 would be closer. We had to repair all the powder buildings too, you know. Them all got damaged. Lucky thing none of them went off from that debris falling. Down that TNT tank, you make your hair stand straight up on that line, take a breath of air, and then he roared out just like an African lion. Yeah.
So what made it do that? I mean,
it was burning.
oh, it was on fire. Okay.
It was burning.
Right.
And when it burned down low enough so that a little bit of TNT that was left couldn't stand it anymore, then it blew up too. And naturally, it was done because there was nothing left to burn or to blow. A little bit that was left, you know. Yeah. A lot of stuff I went through. Up it was all I know was in the fall time. Just like this was in the fall time. In October. I think that one was out. The second one was in October too.
So 2 years later.
2 years later, exactly. On a Wednesday. And I don't think any windows got blown the second time, you know. Because the first time was at night, and at nighttime it's bad. Daytime it's a lot easier on everybody around. When an airplane came too, you know, about 2 minutes after explosion, you know, you could see everything went up in the air and it was falling back down, but it didn't go all over the place, you know. Airplane came and it banked and turned, made a big circle looking at it and left, went back to Arnwood, went to Arnwood. came from Duluth. If it would have been 2 minutes sooner, boy, he would have been in harm's way. We were all on labor. We were building.
So they had labor and what else? When you said they were working on labor, so that
power
was
line and powerhouse and that Nitromix. Every department had its name. And the magazines, you know, I worked on the magazines too. That was fun. Where you just handle, you put the stuff in buildings. Then when a truck comes, you load the truck. You know. And our own men used to drive the trucks. Stanley Augustine was one of them. He used to drive powder truck to the West Coast and wherever he went. You know, he had a lot of fun doing that. Hauling stuff. He had special orders, you know, where you can go and where you can't go with the powder, you know, with the powder truck. His wife's still living, but he isn't. He got sick and died. Yeah, I was working for Barony, you know, and we broke down one afternoon. A shovel operator busted down there. We were sitting and nothing to do. We got 3-4 hours to sit. So I took my own truck. I was driving, you know, went to DuPont, checked in to see if they needed me or not. I'm back next morning. Yep. So I come home and told Frances I got a job at DuPont. She says she was called and she said, you already got a job. You don't need to go to DuPont. Did you, babe?
Huh?
DuPont called. You were ahead of me.
I didn't want you to work there, no. I did. I had a premonition. I did not like that place. Honest.
So then I went there, worked there for 10 years. I went back to Joe, went right back to work. Oh, they said here in the paper that 2/3 of the windows were broken in Ashland, you know. And what I could see, every window facing the lake was broken, smashed, pushed in. You know what Erickson said from Washburn? He was parked in Ashland, you know, he was on his boat, big boat. He said he got knocked right out of his bed. He's the guy that does that work with the boat, you know, all stuff. See all stuff all the time.
Was that the first explosion or the second explosion? That was the first explosion, right?
Yeah, the first explosion. Because it was a LST cargo ship is what his job was. He's a nice guy too. The last explosion we had at DuPont, I think, was 1920. If I remember right. Yeah. Killed 2 men. 1920 is the last explosion we had before these. So that's quite a while. And that was the jelly machine, that jelly dynamite they were making. And that's what blew up. The Nitromix, where they made the dynamite mix, the very first mixing, you know, with the nitroglycerin, was the highest building, and all of the buildings were lower. So all the loaded buildings were going downhill, you know, and really at a good, it was really set up good, a good grade. Then when you're taking the empty stuff back, your light going uphill. It wasn't bad. You know, we could move it easy. And we had a couple of electrics down there too, electric machines, you know.
What do they do? Well, the electric machines.
Use for pushing big loads, you know. Usually the guy that delivered stuff to all the buildings would have electric. But for taking powder to the packing house, that was all downhill. Just right too, not fast downhill, just nice grade. It was really a setup, really smart the way they set that up. And the older men worked up at Nitromix, mixing powder. So there'd be no goofing off.
So what did they make at the plant?
Dynamite, Nitromix, Nitromon, and TNT, and I think that was about it that we made there when I was there. We were running all the time. A lot of the TNT, we used ourselves, mixed it into other stuff, like Nitromon. Mixed it in there. It was a liquid when we made it. Then when it went out, of course, it was a powder.
And what's Nitromon? Oh, no, I don't think I've ever heard that term.
It's a neighbor to the Nitromix stuff. But it takes a lot more for it to explode. There were wild explosions that didn't go off too easy, like dynamite. That gelatin dynamite used to, any little thing you look at it crossways and it went off. You want to just make good stuff, but not too dangerous. That Nitromon, we even put it in sacks. Sacks about that big. I don't know why that was, but
So that was a powdered explosive?
yeah, it was powder. When its finished product it was powder. When it was in the mixing bowl, it was liquid, and it was hot. It comes in really, really hot. You cooled it down with water, and slowly. That was a darn good job. Because I no more than got started there. It just started. I was a young guy there. And we were all, us younger fellows were used mostly for labor, till then. But I ended up on a powder line right away. And another thing, I had blood nose and earaches, One day on a powder line, I never had another bloody nose again. Never. That's strange. And my earaches went away too. And one day on the powder line. I was sick though. I was sick very bad. Boy, that powder gets you sick. You want to throw up and whatever, But whatever it did me good. After a while, the longer you worked there, the less sicker you got too. You got used to it more. But she said I used to smell when I came home after I showered even. It was, I don't know, in your blood or in your,
What did it smell like?
Yeah, sulfur, like sulfur. Yeah. That's where they had a lot of fires. If a front end loader was going in to unload sulfur, and that they had a cable, made a spark, the sulfur building was burning. It was being put out many times. Automatic sprinklers and stuff,
So can you describe the plant at all? You go in through those big front gates and heading down that main... Did you go in through the very front gates?
Yeah.
Okay, and then you go down that main drag down the middle.
The first building to the left was the office. It was a good big building, And then labor. Then you ran into the labor building. And then to the right and to the west was darn it. The one I said a little while ago. The one that was burning. TNT was to the west. They made TNT there. And then to the south of that was our powerhouse, where our air pressure, heat and stuff come out of. They maintain electricity and stuff come out of the powerhouse. And then every one of them had a change house. Wherever you worked, there was a change house each job. That's where we all gathered after the first explosion was in the change house. And by golly, we had lights in there too, you know. Everything was dark outside, and we had, for some reason or another, we had lights inside the change house. We all showered up good, and the doctor was in there and stuff, you know. I remember that. Yeah, you forget the first explosion and be darn lucky to miss the second one. They knew though. They knew when the second one went off what caused it. They should have shut it down. You know, right then and there. Don't run another day. It would have saved those 3 guys' lives. But they want to make it to Saturday.
So there were 2 explosions? I mean, you know, we've got
Well,
these
this
2
is
here.
52 and the 54 is the one that I was in.
There were 2 explosions that week. Right. Is that in 54 there were 2?
54 there was one.
Oh, in 52 there were 2 explosions.
Yeah,
Or are you saying
was Nitromix, and then the TNT tank, when it was almost empty, it blew itself out, is what it did. There was nothing left there. It burned and burned and burned till...
Oh, for a couple of, so it was 2,
Yeah.
it was the same explosion, but the
yeah.
fire kept burning for a couple of days. Is that what?
Hours.
Hours, okay.
Yeah. Hours. Then it burned low, the little bit of it couldn't stand the fire, and it exploded, I suppose.
So the second explosion was caused by the same thing as the first explosion?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So they knew after the first explosion what caused it,
Yep.
and they just did the
Yep.
same thing, and then they had another
They
explosion.
studied it for 2 years, and when they come up with this mixer thing, you know, which makes sense, you've got a crack there that's expansion and contraction. It's hot, hot, and then cold, cold. It makes sense. It got squeezed too hard. If you run over dynamite or nitromon or nitromix with a train, it goes off. Pressure. Couldn't stand the pressure.
So how long after they knew what caused the first explosion did the second explosion happen? You said they studied
2
it for
years.
2 years.
Yeah,
So
yeah, they studied, and studied.
and then it blew up again.
Yeah, it was 2 years exactly about. They would have changed the minute they knew it. Wouldn't have happened. Second one wouldn't have happened.
So when they rebuilt it the second time, they fixed everything? Did they?
Oh, you mean after the second explosion? I don't know.
But the second explosion, it was the same reason as the first one, that mixer.
The mixer, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yep.
So they knew it, and then they didn't fix it right away,
Right. Yeah. Right.
and then it blew up.
yeah. It blew
Boy,
up the
that's-
second time. The same thing. Only they had it engineered so it didn't blow all over. It blew just down the ravine, down the woods. So that was a good thing. They worked on a lot of that stuff. The first one, boy, that stuff was all over. Holy smokes! It was just like rain. You know, every particle was just like rain, and none of us got hit. If anything hit you anywhere, you wouldn't have survived. You wouldn't have made it. And that piece of that mixture that I picked up, that's about 5 pounds. It went for over a mile. Smith was driving just outside the plant when the blast occurred. Such force it nearly turned his car over. Smith was his name. So that's a good mile away. That, holy smokes. That scared the pants off you. The only one that didn't like it was Frances. She hated to see me go out the door. Never know if I was coming back or not. I think Francis heard the second one because we were living out here then, you know, and it was at 4:15 in the afternoon, and everybody's up and hear a lot of stuff. Yeah. Yeah, she didn't want me to work there, but I made it. I had to work 10 years there to get 5 years rights. That's how one times I was laid off, hired, laid off, hired, laid off, hired. So, man, oh man. But it was fun. It was a good place to work, you know. We used to get $2.85 an hour back then.
So was what did you say? Was that good money?
Huh?
Was that
$2.85 an hour.
was that good money?
Yeah. Best money at the time. Yeah, it was good old days. Yeah, and then they closed her down. Northland College stood in the middle of the highway, and that was it. They shut her down right there. Three hundred people got laid off.
Do you think that's why they really shut it down, or was that an excuse?
Huh? Oh, oh, we really don't know. You know, the big DuPont is down in down below by Illinois, North Illinois, somewhere there, someplace. That's where DuPont is. You know. They make all kinds of. That's where a lot of our guys were working before they came here. You know, they were in Ashland, but they were working down there, and then they came home.